Hello everyone, welcome to Web Technology Lab session. In this video, we'll be discussing about the next exercise, JavaScript DOM elements and events. So in this exercise, the major objective is you are going to practice how to design a web page which demonstrate dynamic actions for the user interactions using JavaScript document object methods as well as event handling techniques. So in this exercise, you will be using JavaScript object document object model functionalities and event handling technique to design a HTML web page for with user interaction. For example, you are going to design a HTML web page to design a calculator like this, and when the user interact, it will respond some data, it will respond some output in the page. So that's what we are going to practice. And like this, we have several type of questions like currency converter. So you are going to practice these exercises. So let's start with the introduction about JavaScript. To start with, why JavaScript is needed. Let us understand. So when we design a HTML program, we are actually designing a static HTML content. So that will be displayed to the user. So the user can see the static web page content. Furthermore, the user cannot interact much when you design only HTML program. Suppose if you want to make user interaction, for example, there is a button element you have created. When user click the button, you want to make the web page respond for the interaction. So for this purpose, we need a client-side scripting language. So here we have a JavaScript. JavaScript is a client-side scripting language which will give dynamic actions for the user interactions with the help of document object methodologies or functionalities, and we have a event handling mechanism. So that's the purpose of why we need to use JavaScript in HTML program. So if you want to include JavaScript code in HTML, we have to use a script tag like this, and followed by you have to write the JavaScript code inside this script tag. So this is the format how to include script tag in HTML program. And this script tag you can place it inside the head section, or you can place it in the body section. That is not a problem. Anywhere you can place the script tag. So in JavaScript, the main important concept is actually document object model. So what is document object model is when you design a HTML program, when you design a HTML web page, you will be using various HTML elements called tags, right? For example, HTML tag, heads tag, body tag. So many elements will be using it. So when we run the program, the browser software will create a model for your web page. So that model is called document object model. And in this model, every HTML tag and HTML element will be created as a objects, will be created as an object, and it will be created as a node in as a tree structure model. So basically it is a tree structure model. There is a object called document. It's a predefined object which will be created by browser software, and this object manage all the elements in the HTML program. For example, starting with HTML tag, head tag, then followed by title tag, inside body tag, and inside body tag whatever element you are using will be managed by this document object. So using this document object, we can traverse to any element, to any node. We can search. For example, if I want to do anything in the h1 element, I can use this document object and I can find this element. Using this document object, I can reach this element and I can perform some dynamic actions in that particular element. So that's the purpose of why we are using document object model. So document object model gives all the power to the JavaScript to control the HTML web page. So control means what? We can access the various content of a HTML web page using this document object model. So what we can do, JavaScript can access or change or add or remove HTML elements. So that is the one purpose of using document object model. And also we can manipulate the attributes. Also we can work with the event handling, like for example, when we click the button, we can perform some event. We can call some functionalities and we can respond. So that is called event handling. Like click event is there. We have a load event, and we can write response code for this. For example, react to HTML elements, and also we can change the CSS styling also, right? So these are the things we can perform using DOM, document object model. So now let's start with how we can do it. Okay, so basically JavaScript is a function oriented programming language. Even though it is function oriented programming language, it is actually a object oriented programming language. Here everything is a object and functions, so both will be there. So in JavaScript we'll be using functions, events and properties. These are actually major elements to access the DOM, to manipulate the DOM elements. So how we can manipulate DOM elements? So there are two ways. First one is we can use built-in functions. The next one is user-defined functions. Okay. First we are going to see how to display data in a using JavaScript. How to display some data. First start with the alert message. How to use this alert? So to demonstrate, I'm going to use VS Code software. So here I have created a sample HTML program. So in this, first we need to include a script tag. So we have to use a script tag. Open the script tag, close the script tag. So how to use that alert message? Just you have to use alert. Even window dot is not necessary. Just you have to use the alert function. That is enough. You can write welcome to JavaScript, right? So go to the run, select run option, open browser, Chrome. Now the browser is opened. So here you can, as soon as the browser is opened, you can see the message box is appeared here, right? So welcome to JavaScript. Here you can see welcome to JavaScript, and you can click OK. When you click OK, it will be closed. When I reload the page, for example, here there is a reload option. When I reload, again that alert message will be coming. So alert function is used to display the data in a message box. So this is one way. Suppose if you want to display something inside the web page, for example, here I want to display some data. So in that case, what you can do is we have to use the next function. You can use document.write. For example, hello world. So now save the program and we can go to the output, reload the page. When I reload first, the alert message box will be appear here. When you click OK, here you can see the hello world is displayed in the web page. So if you want to display any data inside the HTML web page content, you can use document.write hello world, right? So it will be displayed like this, right? So this is a second way of displaying the data using document.write. The third is very important, called inner HTML property. So we can also display data using inner HTML property also. So what is inner HTML? Inner HTML represent the data inside any HTML element. For example, if you are using a paragraph tag, inside the paragraph, what is the content? The content is referred by inner HTML property in JavaScript. Okay, so if you want to display anything inside the element, like a paragraph or div element, you can use this inner HTML property. Let's see how we can do that. Okay, so now to display inside the HTML, inside div element or paragraph using inner HTML property, first you have to find the element. First we need to find. Okay, so we need to find the element, then you have to use this inner HTML property. So first you need to find the element. Let's see how to find the element inside the HTML page. Okay, so there is a function called document.getElementById. So already we have practiced ID attribute, right? So we can use ID attribute to identify the element, right? So using ID value, we can find the element by using this document.getElementById. So for example, here in this example, you can see here we have a div element. Inside div element, we have a ID. ID is box 1, right? So we can find this element by using document.getElementById. that particular ID you have to pass here, and dot inner HTML equal to welcome some data you can assign. So this data will be displayed inside the div tag. So inside means this is the place, okay, the content area of a div tag. So let us understand this by creating a sample code. So we can also write this script tag here also, okay, we can write this script tag here, anywhere we can write, okay. So now let us understand how to display data using inner HTML property. So for that, first I'm going to create a div element. So inside div element nothing is there, okay, it is fully empty. So first I'm going to give a ID for this particular div element. So d1, so I'm going to give the ID as d1. So currently inside the no content is available. I want to display one content. I want to display a data using inner HTML property inside this div element, right? So for that, inside script tag, we have to start with the document dot get element by id. Inside you have to pass the id value. So here the id is d1. Now this will give a object. This will give a object. So using this object, we can call the property called inner HTML. So inner HTML is equal to, here we can write some data to display. For example, I want to display hello world. So now when I run the program, reload the page, look at this, hello world has appeared here. If I want to display anything inside the element, you have to find the element first using document.getElementById. So we have to give the ID of the element and call inner HTML equal to that particular data, right? And why I have written script tag after the div element is very important, you need to understand, okay. So when we load the page, first div element should be created before finding the element. I am trying to find one element using ID. I'm going to find an element using ID. So before finding the element should be created. So that's why I have kept the script code after that particular statement. Similarly, you can apply some styling also. You know, style, for example, I want to display the text in green color. So styling can be done with the CSS code. Either it is a inline CSS or a internal CSS you can use, right? So this green color is applied to this particular code. Look at this green color. Now if I change this value, for example, instead of hello world, okay, I just put hello. So now look at this, it is updated. Here you can see that div element is getting updated with the uh, current value of inner HTML, okay. One more way of displaying data is we can create a text box, right? Using input type is equal to text, we can create a input field text box. Suppose if you want to display data inside the text box, we can use another property called value property, okay. So let's try this also. If we want to display data inside a text box, we can use value property. So let us understand how to do that. For example, I want to display something to the text box also, okay. So I'm going to create a text box, okay. For example, enter the message, okay. So by default, I want to display some data here, okay. Assume that I want to display some data inside the text box. So we can give a ID for this text box. We need to give a ID text box, okay. So I'll just give it as TB stands for just text box, okay. So I want to display something inside this text box, okay. So if I run now, just save it and reload the page. When you run the program now, what will happen is it is empty, nothing is displayed inside the text box. If you want to display some data inside text box using JavaScript code, we can use the value property. So how to do that? Document dot get element by id, within bracket we can find the id. What's the id here? TB, right? So use TB dot. So I want to display data inside text box, so we have to use value property. Value equal to, I want to display some message, for example, greetings. Okay, right? So when I reload the page, you can see they enter the message. By default I'm getting greetings. Of course we can edit this also. Okay, by default when I reload again, default data I'm getting greetings. Okay, not only default data, default data you can display use in the HTML element itself, right? So here what you need to understand is how to display data inside a text box. Okay, so usually when you display something in using JavaScript code, usually we can keep the text box as read only mode. So that text box is only for displaying the purpose. It is only for displaying the data, right? So for example, now I'll save it. Okay, now look at this. Here I cannot edit. If I click the mouse inside the text box, it is not responding. I'm not able to edit it. So to display data inside text box, you have to use value property. Right. So this way we can display data using document object model functionalities, alert, write, inner HTML, and value property. We can create user defined function and we can write logic, and then we can call this function when it is required. Okay, so in JavaScript you can create a function like this: function keyword, name of the function, parameter. If you want, you can use this function. Okay, let's see one example how to create a function in JavaScript. So for that I'm going to delete all these code, and let's start with the fresh code, how to create a functions. So here I'm going to put a title JS demo. So now here I'm going to create script tag. Sorry, not script. First we need to create a script tag. Okay, so after creating the script tag, now we can we are actually discussing about how to create a function, right? So let's see how to create a function. Function keyword, and for example say hello message. So we can create a function like this: function, function name, bracket, and brace, open brace, close brace. So here I want to display alert message, so I'll display like this: hello. So once you create a function, the function should be called, otherwise this function code will not be executed. For example, if I reload the page, nothing is coming, the alert message is not coming, right? So why? Because the function should be called, otherwise the function code will not be executed, right? So how to call the function? We can call outside like this: say hello, like this. Normally how we are calling the function. Okay, the function name, bracket, and save the program. So now when you reload the page, here you can see the function is gets called. Here you can see the message, how the message is getting displayed here. So when I reload again, the function is get called and it is displayed. Okay, so this way we can create a function, and we can also pass parameter also for this function. Right, so we discuss about how to create a function, right? And we discuss about how to call the function, right? So we know how to create a function and how to call the function. Okay, so now let's talk about event handling mechanism. So this event handling technique is very important for making the web page more dynamic and for the user interaction. For example, when you load the page, okay, you want to do something. When you load the page, you want to perform something, so you can call the function. You Now we discuss about how to create a function, right? So we can call the function when the page gets loaded. Similarly, we can call the function when we click the button. When we click the button, we can call the function. And similarly, when user types something in the text box also, we can call the function. Similarly, when user selects some data in a drop down list box, it generates event. We can call the function. Okay, so there are some predefined events. We can handle those events. By handling the event, we can perform dynamic actions in HTML program. Okay, now let's talk about what are the common HTML events. Okay, so these are the very important HTML events. First one is onload. So onload is basically event happens when document loads, when you run the program. So when you execute the program, this onload will be occurred. First, we are going to see how to call a function when page gets loaded. Okay. Now look at this code example. Here I have a function called test, right? test function, right? So this function I want to call when the page gets loaded. So we can write, go to the body tag, we can write a event on load equal to that function. You can call the function, right? So this function gets called. Okay, so this is how we have to write event handling code. Okay, we need to remember the event name, and event name equal to, we have to call the functions, right? So let's understand with an example. I have a say hello function, right? Now in this program I have called the function here, right? So now I don't want to call here. When the page gets loaded, I want to call it. Okay, so for that I can write like this: on load equal to say hello. Onload event will be triggered automatically when the page gets loaded in the browser. Okay, so for example, save the program and go to the output, reload. When I click reload, what will happen? It will load the HTML program again, and when the page gets loaded, it will call the function called say hello. Since we have written on load say hello, so it will load the say hello function. Okay, so here you can see say hello, right? So this is about on load. Similarly, we can also work with on click. On click event is there. On click event occurs when user clicks on a particular HTML element. Basically it is used in button. We have a button element, is right? We can use it with button. So when you click the button, if you want to call some function, you can use on click. Okay, so let us understand how to use on click event. Okay, so let's go back to the example. So here we have discussed about on load, right? Now we'll create one button here. So you can create a button using a button tag. For example, click here. So I'm going to create a button like click. Okay, now if I click this button, I want to call a function. So I create one more function. We can create as many functions we can. Okay, when I click the button, I want to call one function. Okay, for example, like test function. Okay, or we can call fun. Okay, the function name is fun. So in this function I'm going to display alert. So now this function I want to call when the button is clicked. So what we can do is we have to use click on click equal to fun. Just call the function. Okay, so now when I click this button, this function will be called and the alert message will be open, right? For example, I'm reloading it. Now here also you can notice that when I reload, the alert function is coming hello world. Why? Because we have written on load equal to say hello, which will call the say hello function and which will bring this alert message. Okay, the same way we have a button, right? So now I'll click OK, and now we can able to see the button. If I click this button also, you can see another alert message which will show button is clicked. So this is what how to use on click event. Okay, so next is when you click the button, one way is we can display alert message. Another way is we can display the data in a some data in a text in a we can display something in the div box using inner HTML program. Okay, now let us practice that. For example, if I click now, I'll just comment this say hello function. Okay, say hello function, I'm just commenting it. Now listen carefully. When I click, for example, I have a div element here. I have a div element here, and I'm going to give ID as d1. Okay, ID as d1. The currently this div element has a value welcome to CSE. Okay, so the current text is welcome to CSE. Okay, if I want to change the content, this content I want to change. If when I click the button, when I click this font button, like when I click this button, I want to modify this content. So what you can do is uh, when I click the button, it will call font function. So here instead of this alert message, we can use document.getElementById. We can give the id values d1 dot inner HTML we discussed in the previous session. Here I want to say some other message. For example, hello John. Okay, some other data I want to display. So what you can do is when I click the button, Now, how it is actually, how the flow of execution you can understand. When I click the font button, click button, it will call font function, and the font function identify the div element using ID, get element by ID, and it will change the inner content of that particular div element. Previously, it was welcome to CSE. When you click the button, it will change like this. Okay, so now I will save it. Go to save and run the program, reload the page. When I reload the page, look at this, welcome to CSC, right? When I click, it's changed to hello John, right? So this is what you have to understand. We can also change the content of a div element using, when you click the button, we can change the content by using document.getElementById, by using the event handling on click, and call the function, write the logic inside function, right? So this is what how to display inside a HTML element on event, right? So next we are going to see how to read values from input elements. For example, if you have a input box, you want to get some data, right? So how to read the value? So reading the value is also by using the same property called value. Already we discussed value property to display data inside a text box, right? Using same property, we can store the value, we can read the value from the text box. How to use that? Document dot get element by id, give the id of the input text box, and dot value. When you use dot value property, you'll get a value. The value you can store using, there is a data type, variable declaration you can make using where keyword. Okay, now let us understand how to read value from the input box, right? So for example, here I have a input text box, enter your name. Okay, input text box, enter your name, input type is equal to. Now I am going to give a id also, called id is tb. Okay, any id you can give, id is tb. So now I am going to put like this. Okay, now when I click this click button, when I click the button, I want to read the value of this text box, and I want to display inside this div element. Okay, so to display, just what's no need to put any content. So here, just for understanding, I'll put the id as output. Okay, so that you will be understanding the id is output. So no need to confuse this function, and I'll remove it. And onload at, for instance, I'll remove this. Okay, so now I have only one function called fun. When I click the click button, fun function is called. Inside fun function, we have to read the value of this text box. To read the value of text box, first we have to create one variable, data equal to document dot get element by id. Within bracket, we can give the id as tb. Tb is the id of the text box. Then using value property, we can read the value from the text box. Okay, so this is a code used for reading value from, read value from text box. And next code, this is a code for display data in div element. I want to display the accessed value inside this div element, right? Output. Okay, so here it is not out d1, it is output. Okay, right? So to display the data, just remove this, and here you have to assign the value. Just you have to assign the value, right? So now read the value, display in this div element. That's all. Okay, so just when you click reload the page, here we can type the data. For example, Arul. When you click the button, the Arul is displayed here. Why? Because here we have a div element, and that div element has id output. So we are finding document.getElementById, and the output dot inner html equal to the data which we are accessed from the text box, we can display in the inside the div element. So this is what the procedure, how to read the data from text box. Okay, so next, similarly, we can also use onkeyup event. What is use of onkeyup event is, this event occurs when user release the key while typing. So when you type and release the key, this will be this event will be occur. For example, assume that you want to see the output when you type itself. Okay, now let's see how to do this on keyup. So the same program, instead of this on click, okay, instead of this on click, I will comment this button. I don't want this button. Assume that I don't want this button. I want on keyup. On keyup equal to, I want to call this function fun function. Okay, so now what will happen is whenever I type data, this on keyup call the fun function, and inside function, what is there inside function, we are reading the data from the text box and we are displaying inside the div element. Okay, save the program and reload it, right? So here now when I type itself, you can see the data is coming, right? For example, welcome to css. Okay, look at this. When I type itself, the data is coming. Data is displayed in the div inner html property. Okay, so it is like why? Because we are using on keyup. So the same way we have a on change event also there. So on change event means, for example, if you have a select tag, okay, select tag, and select a new car from the list. Okay, we can select some cars in the list. Okay, I want to read the selected car I want to read. So we can use on change. We can call the function my function. This will call this my function, right? And here we can read the selected value document.getElementById. What is the id I have given? My select. Okay, id dot value, and it will be stored in a variable x, and this variable we can show it in another div element, which is actually this one. Okay, see, look at this paragraph. It's not a div element. Paragraph id equal to demo. So here in this place I want to display. Okay, how I want to display, you selected this value x. Okay, so using inner html we can display, right? So this is about on change event. The next, we are going to see one exercise, how we can create a javascript program using this document object model and functionalities and event handling. So in this exercise, I'm going to create a web page using html and javascript to calculate simple interest for the user input, such as principal amount, interest rate, annual, and years tenor, as per the following formula. Okay, so first we need to create an interface for collecting principal amount, interest rate, years. Three input element I want to create. Okay, then we have to write the javascript code. uh, we have to create input element and display the final amount when the button is clicked. Okay, so final amount you have to calculate using this formula. Okay, so I'll remove this previous discussed topics. Okay, so first we need to create a interface for collecting principal amount, interest rate, years. Okay, so let us start with the heading like h1 simple interest calculator. Okay, just put a getting, and you can apply various css styles for coloring and alignment and all. I'm just looking at only the logic. I'm not going to touch the alignment, css and all, right? So first we are going to create a like principal amount. Okay, we need a principal amount. So you can use this for this, you can use a label tag. So principal amount, you can put it inside the label tag. So that's how you have to practice. So followed by, you can create a input text box. Input type is equal to text, and you can give id. So id is a let us assume that p. Okay, so next you can put a break. Okay, so it look like this: simple interest calculator, principal amount, you will get one text box. Okay, the same way you need a and in this label you can provide for equal to um, id you can give. Okay, you can give id value. So what is this for is, if I look at this, if I click inside text box, I'm getting the focus, right? Similarly, if I click this principal amount also, you'll get focus. So not to get, if I click here, if I click here also, look at this. If I click here itself, I'm getting a focus, right? So for that we can use this label for equal to give the ID of this text box. Okay. So similarly, you have to copy and paste two more text box, and we have to modify this values. Okay. First, the next text box is interest rate. Okay, interest rate. The next one is years. Okay. So just modify this. First, I'll modify this ID. Interest rate is I. R, I'll put R, and year is I'll put N, number of years. Okay. And here also R, and here also N. Okay. So now the next is interest rate. So change this interest rate percentage. Okay, it is percentage. Interest rate is percentage. This is actually annual interest rate. Okay, annual interest rate per year. Okay. The next input is we need to use tenor. Tenor means like number of years you want to calculate the interest. Okay. So that is it, tenor. Okay. So after that, just read the question. Create input elements. We have created. Display the final amount when the button is clicked. So we need a button. So we can create a button tag. Okay. Find symbol interest. Okay. So when I click this button, I want to find the symbol interest using the formula, and I want to display the data in another div element, right? In another element, I want to display the data. So we have to use div elements to display the data. So we can create a div element. So here the ID we can give it as output. The ID I'm going to give it as output, right? So when I click this button, I want to perform. So we have to write on click event, on click, right? So we can write a function called find si symbol interest, si. Okay, find si is a function name. So we have to create a function in the script tag find si. You can write a function. Okay, got it? So on click find si will be called. So here one bracket is missing. Find si function is called. So in this, inside this function, we have to calculate the final amount P into 1 plus R into T. Okay. So R is annual interest rate. So we have to use R divided by 100. You have to use, it's a percentage. So we have to use like that. So first we need to, what's the next? First thing is we need to read this principal amount, interest rate, years, right? So we have to read the values. First, so how to read the values? Okay. So first we are going to read the principal amount, document dot get element by id. Id is P. To read a value, you have to use value attribute, right? The same way we can read interest rate I, sorry, interest rate is R, document dot get element by id. IDs are dot value. You can use a value attribute. The next is we need a years, number of years. N is equal to document dot get element by id. The id is n, right? So here you can see, here you can notice that the id is n or p. So that only we are using here, right? So sometimes in mathematical calculation, some formula expect integer format, right? So it's better you have to convert all these things as a integer. Okay. So for that there is a function called parseInt. Within bracket you keep this function calling document.getElementById. So it's a good idea, recommended. You need to enclose the input since we are doing mathematical operation. So now parseInt will convert everything to integer format. Now we can write the logic. Okay. So final amount equal to P multiply by within bracket 1 plus the formula here, it is P into 1 plus RT, right? So 1 plus R is actually the annual interest rate. Okay. For example, if it is 15 percentage, 15 by 100, right? So we have to use R divided by 100 multiply by number of years. Okay, number of year is n. Okay, so this is a formula we have to apply. Now the final amount is calculated. I want to display the final amount in this output. Okay, so to display the final output, I have created div element, right? So here we'll give some styling also, like color, Okay, blue color I'm going to display. Okay, so background color also we can give. Okay, for example, width we can give width colon 200 pixel. Background we can give, for example, background color colon yellow. I'll put yellow color. Okay, so you'll get in yellow color, you'll be getting the data will be displayed, and padding also you can apply padding 12 pixel padding. Okay, right. So why I'm doing this is the output will be displayed in a you can decorate the output by using colors and background colors. Okay, right. So we have to find this id output. So how to display the data? You have to use document dot get element by id within bracket output and dot inner html equal to inner html equal to the final amount. You have to display the final. How you can display is like this. You can say amount plus is for used for concatenation in JavaScript, so you can use a plus operator for concatenation. Okay, now you have to save the program and run the program. Okay, execute the program. Now I'll reload the page, so I'll be getting principal amount 10,000. I'll give a 10 percentage interest rate 5 years. We'll be getting 15,000, right? 5 years, you'll be getting 10 percentage. Okay, so 10 percentage is like 1 year you'll be getting 1,000 rupees, so you get 15,000, right? So like this you'll be getting the output, right? So for example, if I put like this as 25 lakhs. Okay, 25 lakhs, if you are giving a loan, their rate of interest is 10 according to simple interest calculation. After 5 years you'll get like this 37 lakhs 50,000. Okay, so like this we can create dynamic actions in HTML program, right? So this is one practice exercise, and next we have another practice exercise using onkeyup. So for example, assume that you want to create a HTML program and JavaScript to convert given dollar value to INR format. Okay, when the data is entered by the user. So when I enter itself, I want to do it. Okay, so let us understand how to do this program. So for that, I am going to create another one more example, JS demo 2.html. Okay, so in this JS demo 2, first I'll copy the entire previous program and we'll delete it. Okay, so here what I want to delete is I want to create a program, create a simple web page using HTML and JavaScript to convert given dollar to INR, right? So the title is dollar to INR conversion. Okay, conversion is the title, and we need only one input. Okay, and we don't want remaining input, and this is actually I'll put as dollar. ID is dollar, and here also dollar. So the INR value I'll display in this output box. Okay, so here what I have to do, I have to change the function. Okay, so here the function is actually I want to convert. Okay, just I'll put it as convert function, right? So here the functionality where I have to keep the functionality. Okay, so on keyup means like when we type something it will change, right? So we have to use the text box on keyup, on keyup, and call this convert function, okay. Right, so call convert function. Inside this function I'm reading the value from the dollar box. I have to convert as a INR format, right? So we can create a variable INR equal to dollar. Okay, so P into dollar value, assume that 82 rupees. So P into 82. Now the final amount I'll display here, the INR value. Okay, so we'll display like this INR equal to, we can display the final value like this INR. So here what I did is I have created a like dollar enter dollar. Okay, I have created one label called dollar. Okay, so the primary objective is dollar to INR conversion, right? So like enter the dollar text box. Here when I type the dollar value itself, I want to change it to INR format. Okay, I don't want button here in this exercise. I don't want button. I want do it in the when I type itself, right? So when I type, this convert function will be called. Okay, right? So here we are reading the dollar value. Dollar is ID of this particular thing, and we are reading it and multiply, display the converted value. Okay, now we just save the program and execute this program once again. Right, so now I'll get like this. So when I type $10, immediately INR value is coming 820, right? If, for example, $1 is 82 rupees. If I put $2, 164. 12 means 984. Okay, now look at this. Here what is happening is on keyup event is triggered when I type the data. When I give 1, it's coming like this. 2, it's coming like this. Okay, if I give $1,000, I'll get 82,000 as output here. Okay, right, this is what on keyup event, right? Right, so this is on keyup. The next we are going to practice is on change. Okay, the same program, like same program, what if we want to convert to multiple different currency format? For example, I'm converting to INR. I want to convert to another format also. Okay, right? So for example, you can take a amount and I want to convert to selected currency format. Whatever currency formats I'm selecting in a drop down list box, I want to convert. Okay, so in that case, the same program we can modify. uh, First we have to use amount. So this is a amount. It is not a dollar value, it's just a amount. Okay, and ID is also amount. Okay, so now I'll create one drop down select drop down list box. Here we are going to use three types of currency format. First one is US dollar. Okay, second one is INR. So now I want to, when I select US dollar, this amount should be converted as US dollar format. When I select INR, the amount should be converted as like it should be converted as a INR format. And if I select N, the amount should be converted as N format, N currency format. Okay, so for that, this on key up we have to remove it. Instead of that, you go to select tag, and first we need to give a ID. Okay, like currency format. What is a currency format? And we need to use on change. Even on change equal to we can call that function convert. You can call that function. Okay, so the selected item we can read by using document.getElementById. Sorry, the selected item we have to read, that will come later. Okay, so when I select US dollar INR yen, this function will be called. Okay, this convert function will be called whenever I select the data. Okay, whenever I change the item in the drop down list box. Okay, so here you have to change the ID as amount. Okay, you have to change it to amount. So parsen document.getElementById amount dot get element. You have to take the amount. Now we have to find out the currency format, right? What is the format? Currency, which format I have selected. Okay, so currency, how will you access? Document.getElementById currency is the ID of the drop down list box. Okay, select tag here, drop down list box. Okay, so currency dot value. So now the format you'll be getting, right? So you can apply switch case. So you know switch case, right? You can pass the currency to the switch case, and if the format is US dollar, okay, we can write the logic. Okay, what's the uh, US dollar? If it is US dollar, the formula is the result is equal to the amount. Okay, amount is P, right? So for example, this is amount. The amount you have to multiply by 82. Okay, then you have to display like this. Okay, so now look at this, like display like this, but here you have to say the amount, you have to say dollar. Okay, we can use a dollar symbol here, we can use dollar, that particular amount. Okay, result, right? So when I select US dollar, I'm doing like this. After that we have to apply break. Okay, we have to apply break statement. The same thing we can display, we can repeat, and we can also repeat. Okay, so here we can write other format, INR format is there. Okay, so we can use INR. So if the currency format is INR, change the amount. Okay, assume that like the current format is INR. Okay, so there is no change, amount is equal to that particular only. If the current format is N, okay, I want to convert as N format. Assume that this is not correct. So like for example 120, so you can take the amount and convert as N format. Okay, right. So like this you have to change the logic based on the selected currency format. Okay, so selected currency format, how you are getting? By using on change. So here everything is happening using on change. So when you select on change, it will change, it will give the output. Okay, so now let us see the output. Save the program and click down, reload. So I'm giving 100. So now I'll change it to INR format. INR is 100 only. US dollar means 8,200. Yen means 12,100. Okay, so based on this, here what you have to understand is when I select some item, look at this, output is changing, right? Output is changing when I select. Okay, so let us provide some break statements. So for that, so now when I run the program, look at this, 100. So when 100 is INR, 100 only. So when I select USD, it is changing to 8,200. When I select Yen, it's changing 12,100. Okay, so this is what, how to use on change in select tag, which is a drop down list box. So based on the selected item, when I click on, it will call this convert function. Inside convert function, we are reading the currency, which is currency is selected, whether it is USD or INR or Yen. This currency I'm storing in this variable currency. We can pass it in the switch case. If it is US dollar, do this calculation and display it in the output box, which is this one. Okay, and if it is INR, do the logic and display it. If it is Yen, do the logic, right? So this is how we can apply on change event. Okay, right. So that's all about the basic functionalities of JavaScript. And we have discussed about JavaScript, what is the need for JavaScript, how to use JavaScript in HTML program, and how to access document object model elements using getElementById. And we have discussed about inner HTML, value property, and three types of events we have discussed, like four types of events: onload, onclick, onkeyup, and onchange. So technique. Thank you all.